Hello, hello, hello. Don't know if I'm going to do these often. Probably only when I'm like really passionate about just a particular franchise I like, which brings me on to what I'll be watching. The trailer for the New Year's special for Doctor Who. Massive fan of it. Really love the show. Unfortunately, like a lot of people don't like what's happening presently. I went into it with like an open mind back when Jodie first took the role. Excuse me, and unfortunately, it's just not been very good. Sorry. Like I really wanted it to succeed, but it's just broken my heart so many times. Anywho, so yeah, I'm probably gonna want to talk more about that later in proper views of the episode. But I figured, hey, this is a good it's easy content to review a trailer, and it can also be a good jumping part off point to some of my thoughts. That's just why I fundamentally think they started off on the wrong foot, all the way back at the beginning, at least of this era. So, without further ado,
How many people in the universe get to meet the Doctor, let alone travel with her? Being with the Doctor, you don't get to choose when it stops, whether you leave her or she leaves you.
The doc would really want us to keep an eye on the planet, right?
But how's that possible?
If we don't help, the human race is going down.
You with us?
As of
ow.
now, you will.
Hey, re-record saw it here. I just realized I forgot to mention what I meant by that how in the reaction to the trailer. Primarily has to do with just like the relativity of where the Doctor is trapped, presumably based on her flying in the TARDIS. She's like somewhat in the future relative to everything going on in the present with the companions. So, like, how do you ever feel any noticeable passage of time of the Doctor being out of action when they are a time traveler? That's always just been a fundamental approach to the show in any era. Like, there's been examples of them doing it well before with like Journey's End and like the Earth literally just being pulled out of normal time and space, or back with the Third Doctor when he was kind of like trapped on Earth and he was just feeling out how things were relatively progressing on Earth. But yeah, when it comes to like just the continuity at large, the Doctor's a time traveler, and unless at some point they like permanently die, which can only really happen if the show gets canceled, and if it ever gets renewed, then it ain't happening. Like as long as the Doctor's still alive, even if they die, like the time travel, the effects are felt throughout time and space, in the past and future, from past versions of the Doctor and even future versions. So like I just don't this fundamental concept of feeling the Doctor being out of action is just always fundamentally flawed. The How was also kind of part like two full seasons with these companions. I just don't feel like they've ever had a significant impact or done anything significant or worthwhile as a contribution to the Doctor's efforts. Like it honestly baffles me that I'm saying this because like every other companion, I can think of something where they are at least like significantly trying, and they were just like undermined by like the overbearing sci-fi elements. Not as to say I don't like it, but just like how incredibly powerful some of these sci-fi entities or monsters they are going up against are. That's what's undermining the efforts there. But with these two companions, I just can't think of like anything of worth they have really done that the Doctor couldn't have done by themselves or just by having like a few robots on standby. Neat thought. How cool would it be if like Doctor repurposed some of those spider ones from like the Earth episode with Christopher Eccleston just to be used as drones for their own benefit? That would be so cool if they did that. Not to mention, like pretty good at saving the budget. I think they still would have the asset on file somewhere. And like, given how hard altogether it is, you wouldn't have to do much to update it. Just a thought. Bye. Back to all the other stuff.
See new defense drones at work.
These machines are going to change the world.
Yo! Remember us? I'm Captain Jack Harkness.
All the things.
And I'm immortal.
Are you feeling insecure? Because you
Oh.
seem to need a lot of praise.
Nice.
Do I?
Yeah.
Maximum extermination. Not you guys.
Odd face, make one sound.
Stay strong. People waiting for you.
So yeah, as towards what I'm thinking, as how this not Christmas, unfortunately, New Year's special is gonna be compared to the rest of this era so far. I think it's gonna be pretty much more of the same, and thus entails more of the same problems. The main thing I'm noticing is that it's probably going to be very similar to Victory of the Daleks, except just kind of set in a modern time, and it's just going to be played out a little bit more. But like, I'm also wondering how they have the ability to portray that on the budget they have. Like, it's not a secret that Doctor Who has to keep things relatively on the down low, at least for like the kind of show it is. So, yeah, it's not exactly the freshest idea, and that kind of ties into this era as a whole. Like a lot of things are kind of either just basic, not no real flair style of just anyone involved, any of the directors or the writers, or in some cases it's highly derivative of what came before in Doctor Who because they purposely went in blind, which is kind of a dangerous thing with a show that has as much history as Doctor Who has. Like, it's still mind blowing to me. Like, the first finale of season 11, that finale, massively overlaps, borderlining on either ripping off or just like stepping on a rake, like that kind of ineptitude of an older Doctor Who episode from Tom Baker era. While so many of the plot points and the beats are the same, and it's truly like from the third Doctor on, I've watched all of Old Who, and it's just mind-boggling the similarities between that episode from back in like the 70s and that one that came out, God, at this point, 2017. Like, I cannot state just how few changes there are between that story back in the 70s and that one that came out in 2018. Ooh, sorry, Mike. It just boggles my mind. It is just absurd. It's like 4 differences. Just wordy things that I have to explain, but like they don't fundamentally alter the story from the 70s to 2017. So I think I've said that enough times for it to lose all meaning. As for where I think they kind of went wrong, at least in terms of the actor side, in the beginning, it's hard to say Judy was suited to this role just based on her previous works. Like I haven't heard like anyone ever say, "Oh, of course she wasn't good. She was bad in this." Everyone relatively believes she was good in her previous works, and those were dramas with thoroughly plotted out characters, and every bit of dialogue had meaning. There wasn't much filler or fluff. Whereas with the Doctor, sometimes the actor just has to carry a scene, just kind of be funny, charming, memorable, all around combining the three to try and be iconic without much direction or aid from the script. And Jodie seems to, at least from what I've seen in various interviews, like to rely on that heavily. And the problem is, as Doctor Who expects her to fill in some of the blanks to flesh out her incarnation as the Doctor. The other way I think they kind of went wrong, which isn't so much tied to Judy herself, is just the way they went about it. Overall, transitioning to the first female Doctor was supposed to be kind of like a big thing, and they didn't do that in story. And when it comes to like finding that actor to do it, back when they first regenerated the Doctor, Patrick Troughton, like he was pretty famous in England back at the time when they did that, and they didn't really do the same thing in context of what modern Who is, where it's more of like a global franchise with a global fan base. It didn't really look into what was popular or who was successful in similar roles that had people that liked them. Like it kept the same approach they did from the sixth season, just went for someone who was well known enough in England to try and win over everyone globally instead of going for some actors that had played roles in similar styles of shows that were well liked in those to pull off this momentous occasion. Like occasion, past tense. What's it? I have a few examples, but have to. So, one of them is Lana Pavilla, I want to say, from Once Upon a Time. She played Regina, aka the evil queen, in that, and that's just. I think she would have been able to really pull off a good kind of darker doctor, like Sylvester McCoy along those lines. That's what I think she would excel at. This one involves a bit of hindsight because this started, I think, after Jodie's run as the Doctor, but it's same thing as the last actress, Laura Pavili, no, Lana Pavili, my bad. I just think she also would have played a good, more malevolent Doctor. Parker Posey, I want to say, from Lost in Space, playing Doctor Smith. Again, just similar reasons. I do think they would have been able to play a more complex and chess mastery Doctor. What's it? The last one that I thought would have been pretty good and kind of interesting for design production and also capitalizing on popularity would have been Millie Bobby Brown. There we are. Just because like Stranger Things, at least back at the time when they would have been looking for casting, was very big. I don't think it's gone small by any means now. It's just like not new, so it's kind of like a level off. If it happened back then, it would have been momentous, amazing. And like from design production, it would have been like interesting in between like each season, just to at the end of one season film half a montage and then finish off the next season to just kind of show her aging as the Doctor, implying hundreds of years are going by. That would have just been like such a neat, mind blowing trick, but at least in my mind. But yeah, they really needed to win over the fan base, like on all levels, and like how they went about casting, who they cast, and then the overall quality of the show from that point on, which I do want to go into more later into their own videos, like episodes grouped up, like two at a time at most, because of how long they are. Like nothing came together to win people over, and that's kind of been showing year after year. Yeah, I'd say 3 years now. I meant to go episodes. The ratings have been falling with each episode. Tongue in my mouth on that one. The saying is foot in the mouth. I am nailing this. But yeah, it's really been an exercise in diminishing returns, and that breaks my heart because like I am a massive Doctor Who fan. Have been since I was young. Like I said, I've gone through so much of old Who. I've been watching new Who consistently, and I'm at the point now. Like I love consistency. Kind of OCD. Normally it bugs me not finishing off things. But even I'm at the point where I have to wonder, am I even going to watch this? Like, am I going to get anything better than what I've seen in the last 2 seasons and assorted specials? I don't think so. And I haven't been very happy with that. I'm hopeful I'm wrong. I'm hopeful this is the season. Everything magically turns around and all works out. Everyone just kind of clicks together, figures out what the fan base wants, and brings the viewership back in. But well, I'm hopeful I get egg on my face. But as it stands, one way or another, I think I'm just gonna be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share the video about the place, and if you've watched me a few times or just really like me, consider subscribing and looking at my Patreon. Ta-ta!